Welcome, everyone. I'll just give 1 minute to make sure everyone gets into the meeting, and I appreciate your patience. And this meeting is being recorded, so please make sure to confirm that you consent to be recorded. The posted recordings will be available on our website within the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much for participating today. All right, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll let people continue to join. Welcome and thank you for attending the Scholarship Opportunities Program workshop with a particular focus on engineering and information and computer science students. I'm very glad you're here. My name's Courtney Santos and I'm a scholarship advisor with the SOP. Today we'll be discussing 3 key scholarship resources on campus. So I'll be introducing you to resources that you can use to identify appropriate scholarships and create a year-by-year plan for your success. You are surrounded by an ecology of support at UCI, including the Office of Financial Aid, the Writing Center, and of course, the Scholarship Opportunities Program. And you should familiarize yourselves with the mission and services of these programs. As far as the roles and services of the Scholarship Opportunities Program, we perform outreach, advising, and recognition for our UCI undergraduates who are applying to 21 supported scholarship awards. Under the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning and the Division of Undergraduate Education, we support high-achieving undergraduates from sophomore year to graduation. We encourage students to develop self-awareness, to take strategic risks, and to compete for the prestigious scholarship awards. This complements the services of the Office of Financial Aid and the Writing Center, both of whom are important resources for you as well. SOP informs UCI undergraduate students of our 21 supported awards through various outreach efforts, like the workshop that we're having today. We also do targeted emails and class visits and drop-in consultations, so there's really a variety of ways to get to know the staff of SOP. By providing our students with strategic and personalized advising, feedback on essay and application drafts, access to past-winning applications, and mock interviews to prepare candidates, we can guide you through a process of goal setting and self-discovery, and strengthen rhetorical skills for essays and interviews and other things that you may have going on where you want to compete and do your best. And for those awards that require campus endorsement or nomination from our campus, SOP is charged by the provost to manage that process. That includes convening the faculty review committee that will select the nominees. We also conduct interviews, provide feedback to students on improving interview skills, and write the endorsement letters that accompany the applications, which is sort of like having an extra letter of recommendation from the campus. So we are a full service advising program. Our awards are divided into 2 application cycles. The Explorers 11 advising process begins with pre-applications in October and November. And this process includes all of our undergraduate awards, as well as some graduate level awards for graduating seniors and juniors. Applications are submitted to external scholarship agencies in winter quarter. Actually, I just finished some of them last week. The Explorers 11 group also includes 2 one-year internships for graduating seniors, the California Capital Fellows Program and the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which is a research program in social sciences and foreign affairs. In April, juniors, seniors, and recent graduates, meaning students who graduated in 2020 or are graduating in 2021 or 2022, may submit pre-applications for the Trailblazers 10 advising process. This includes 10 awards for use in the US after graduation or abroad. And so it actually includes all of our graduate study awards that are due in the fall quarter. It's a 6-month process. It also includes scholarships for going abroad, and the most popular of these is the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, which we'll talk about extensively later in the presentation. That includes English teaching assistantships, binational business internships, and the traditional study or research grants. So there's a variety of things that you can do abroad besides just enroll in graduate programs. So I did want to highlight that. Students who participate in either of these two advising processes work extensively with our staff, including myself, my colleague Brendan Park, who's also a scholarship advisor, and our student staff to prepare the best possible applications before submission to external scholarship agencies. The italicized awards on this chart require or strongly encourage campus evaluation and endorsement of the undergraduate applicants. So while not all of the scholarships have that nomination process, many of them do, and we consider it a really valuable service that we're providing because we get to advocate on your behalf and tell the scholarship agency how absolutely fantastic you are. As far as what the advising process looks like at SOP, we are trying to facilitate students' personal and professional development along with the actual scholarship application. These scholarships are not just about the money, right, but about personal development. Our students actually grow a great deal through the process of advising and revising materials that they're submitting to these awards. And even those who do not win will learn strategies that help them get placed in top graduate programs and enter into excellent careers. Our primary advisors, like me and Brendan, and our student advisors serve as guides throughout all phases of the application process, and we encourage you to develop lifelong skills. And so along the way, this is sort of a little map of what that journey might look like for you. In phase 1, exploration, prospective scholarship candidates use pre-writing activities to uncover insights about themselves and about the scholarships that they can then use to write the application materials and develop a really strong strategy for the application. In the mapping process, our applicants will connect their insights and goals to the application requirements for a specific scholarship. And so, in fact, you can come to SOP, start the advising process, and not know which scholarship is right for you, and that is completely okay. If you're not sure, we'll help you figure out which one best suits your eligibility, your competitiveness, and most importantly, your goals. In the trailblazing phase, candidates will develop and refine a unique approach to the writing prompts for the scholarship. And here, your primary advisor will spend a lot of time helping you to edit and revise your essays and make them the strongest they can possibly be through providing comprehensive feedback along the way. In the climbing phase, candidates demonstrate growth and share their new perspective with informed experts at a campus endorsement or nomination interview. And again, your advisor is there coaching you throughout that process and making sure that you have tips and guidance for putting in your strongest interview performance. Finally, in the making your mark phase, candidates finalize their narratives and complete their journeys by submitting materials to the external scholarship agency. And then we all celebrate together. If you have any questions as I'm going along through these slides, please feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, so the beginning of the SOP applicant journey starts with our SOP-PREP course. And so we actually have learning objectives for this. It is a new online course for potential prestigious scholarship applicants. And it's a valuable resource to really support students who are at sophomore status or even recent graduates, all the way in between, in developing self-awareness of intellectual and practical leadership values that can then help you to actually fill out the scholarship applications and be sure of your goals before you go into the actual scholarship process. It's a really valuable course. We're getting positive feedback from the students who have gone through it so far. And it does take just a few hours to complete, generally about 3 to 6 hours. It's self-paced. You can enroll anytime that you would like to do it. Lots of students obviously do it right before our pre-application deadlines, but it's just a really great thing to do anytime that you have the free time to do it. During the exploration phase of the SOP prep course, then you'll watch videos and complete journal assignments that target specific learning objectives, including learning to describe models of intellectual and practical leadership. And many times this is something field specific. Maybe you look up to a specific professor or a writer or a filmmaker. Whatever it is you're looking forward to in your life, those models can help you to really drill down on what kind of goals make sense for you. And then you'll articulate discipline-specific educational goals and match them with key resources on campus. And so maybe you're not using every resource at UCI that you could be. And so your advisor can jump in and suggest some really great programs for you to join, or things that might be helpful to you to do before you graduate. And in the last part of the exploration phase, you'll actually draft a time management plan, which is really, really handy before you go into a scholarship process to be fully prepared. Our student advisors also provide personalized feedback and encouragement on these journal entries. So you are interacting with our staff and getting to know us in the virtual advising space. And in the mapping phase, you'll actually write a vision statement for your future and then take a virtual advisor quiz in Qualtrics. And that will match you with our scholarship offerings. So again, if you're not sure, you don't have to be sure which scholarship is right for you. That's actually a part of the process of going through this advising. And finally, you'll meet our staff. You'll have a personalized advising consultation with one of our student advisors, and they'll help you get started with the right pre-application for the scholarship that most interests you. I see a few questions in the chat. Is there scholarships for international undergraduate students? Yes, we have several scholarships for international students. And if you hit our website, scholars.uci.edu, you will be able to see which ones permit application from international students. There's also another scholarship workshop, as someone mentioned in the chat, on February 10th, and that one specifically focuses on the awards for international students. But as I'm going along and presenting today, I'll try to be sure to mention which awards are useful for you. The pre-application that I mentioned is for getting started with your scholarship application. So you can join the SOP-PREP course before you even know which pre-application is the right one for your needs. And then the pre-application is your expression of interest in specific awards. All right, so if you're looking to join the SOP-PREP course this year, you should first achieve sophomore standing, and also have a cumulative GPA of at least 3.0. And that GPA is recommended because that's what we find is sort of the minimum bar for most of the scholarships that we support. And it is important to know that financial aid has a lot of scholarships that are local, that are not taking GPA into account as strongly, but the scholarships that we support are academic merit scholarships. And so most of them, they do require a GPA of at least 3.0 to apply, and sometimes higher. We have some that have a GPA minimum of 3.7 even. So definitely higher is better, but it's not the only factor that the scholarship agencies will consider, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on. Recent graduates can also participate in SOP-PREP, and in fact, you're encouraged to, if you're still within 4 quarters of graduating from UCI. And the course does not provide any academic credit. This is purely for your own personal and professional development. And of course, we highly recommend it because we made it and we love it. All right, so moving on here. Actually, I would like to ask you guys, what is your graduation year? If you want to pop in the chat, it would be nice to do a little poll here. When do you plan to graduate? Okay, I see some freshmen in 2024. I see some sophomores, 2023, juniors, 2022. Any graduating seniors? Okay. So it looks like a lot of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and that's great because this is really a wonderful time to talk then about the things that you can do to develop a competitive applicant profile. And so while there's no winning recipe or formula that I can give to every student, there's no checklist of how to become a winner. I can give you some tips, and I can use some student stories to tell you about ways in which you can sort of expand your horizons and come up with your own unique checklist. So while there's no list of prerequisites that every student must complete, because scholarship committees would eventually see that as formulaic and a little stale, right? They don't want to read the same application over and over again. They want to be surprised by you and by your uniqueness. There are some trends among our winners that we hope will inspire you. Our winners customize their academic and personal plans according to their passions. I think that's really critical, is to know yourself and what you care about. And also seize opportunities to reflect and revise as you go along, because part of college is exploring and changing and growing in amazing ways. And so being aware of that process is really important. That's going to allow you to know when to take some risks, strategic risks, right? Not like getting in trouble, but to actually go out there and innovate and do something that no one else has done before, something original. To initiate action about things that you care about deeply. They also saw failures as opportunities for growth, right? And everybody meets with challenges and obstacles as they're going through college. But what's really important is to be able to develop resilience and flexibility and to use UCI resources and relationships in our community to help you build that resilience. Through working with SOP advisors and writing specialists, our students learn to articulate their ambitions, which is an act of bravery in and of itself, and they created narratives of progressive success. The following stories will illuminate then how recent winners went beyond the basic requirements for completion of a degree and used education as a tool to foster collaboration around shared values and goals, maximizing their impact in their communities. As far as finding the slides, I see that question. You will be able to find the recording on our website. They should be posted within about 2 weeks. Now, as far as why these scholarships matter, of course, there's the funding, right? But much more importantly, winners and finalists include these highly recognizable awards on their resumes for the rest of their lives. It's really an important growth experience that you want to be able to communicate to people. One component of UCI's national rankings is also how many prestigious scholarship winners we have. And so when you apply for a scholarship and you're successful, you actually raise the profile of our campus nationally, and we really appreciate that. Finally, there's the personal development angle, right? You're going to grow a great deal through the process of applying, and even my students who don't win learn strategies that help them get placed in those top graduate programs or do other things like business plan pitches. For instance, one of my students recently applied for a Fulbright to the United Kingdom. Although he didn't win the Fulbright, he formed faculty connections at a graduate school in the UK that he really wanted to attend. And so he was successful in applying for that graduate program, and he did get other funding to go. So even though the first scholarship didn't work out, he just kept going at it and demonstrated that resilience, and he was able to make his dreams come true. All right, so now we've got our first case study. You may recognize this student. This is Janet. She is majoring in civil engineering with a minor in mathematics, and she's a graduating senior this year. Janet won the Strauss Scholarship for her service project implementing the Youth Participatory Action Research Model for her service project, implementing, or rather guiding a team of Oakland's high school juniors and seniors in researching how digital inequality has impacted their communities. Her Strauss project was conducted in collaboration with the Libraries Without Borders Wash and Learn program. And that places computer workstations in laundromats, allowing low-income and underserved communities to have access to the internet. So it was a really valuable service project. I absolutely love working with Janet and seeing what she's been able to do with Strauss Foundation funding for students who are doing service projects. The Strauss Scholarship is for undergraduate leaders who have a demonstrated commitment to public service. So if you, like Janet, feel pulled in this direction, you can apply to get $15,000 to fund your original community service project from Strauss. If you are a freshman or sophomore, now's the time to start thinking about the original service project ideas that you might pursue, because you need to apply 1 to 2 years before graduating. And so that would mean that your applications would happen next fall. We do ask for pre-applications from students in November, so you have plenty of time to complete SOP-PREP, think about your goals, get started on charitable service if you haven't already, and you would be able to apply for this scholarship next year. Strauss Scholarship service projects can be international, local, or even on campus. So Janet chose to do one that was in Northern California, but it could really be anywhere that you want to do one. In fact, the Arroyo Vista Garden has been funded in part by the Strauss Scholarship competitors. You can collaborate with an existing organization like UCI, or you can even start your own. And the typical applicant is a sophomore or junior with 1 to 2 years of undergraduate study remaining. And just to reinforce, international students can apply for the student as well as students who have DACA status. The recording of the workshop will be available on our website about 2 weeks after this workshop. Another undergraduate scholarship that I'd love to tell you about is one that is specifically for STEM students, including engineering and computer science. And so this is the Barry M. Goldwater Scholarship for Excellence in Research. So if you're more drawn to research than to community service, or perhaps equally so, this is one that you might want to think about. You can apply for math, computer science, engineering, all of the natural sciences, even psychology. Applicants must be sophomores or juniors with 1 or 2 years of undergraduate study remaining as of next fall. And they must be US citizens or permanent residents. Competitive candidates for the Goldwater Scholarship tend to have a high GPA, around 3.7 or even higher, and have often already begun undergraduate research. So if you haven't started research, think about going to places like the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, or UROP, or potentially participating in the campus-wide honors program or your school's honors program. Writing a proposal for UROP funding can also help you to prepare to write the Goldwater research essay. So I really recommend UROP to students who are interested in this award. Most of the applicants for the Goldwater Scholarship are preparing to be university professors, but some are pursuing research and development in industry too, especially engineers and computer scientists. Virtually all Goldwater recipients intend to obtain a PhD as their degree objective in the long run. If you're interested in medicine, you should be pursuing it with the intent to research instead of practice clinical medicine, which usually means seeking an MD/PhD, a joint program in medicine and another field. Nationally, up to 260 Goldwaters are typically selected to receive awards of up to $7,500 per year. So it is one of the more generous as well as nationally competitive scholarships for STEM students. And now I've got a video for you of one of our successful Goldwater applicants.
We'll start with the Goldwater. I didn't really think I'd actually win. It was kind of, this scholarship is made for STEM people, and I kind of fit that category. I said, let's give it a shot and see what happens. And obviously through the help of the SOP, it wouldn't have been possible without them. With their help, we actually were able to submit a very strong application. We won the scholarship. So they fill in all the gaps of knowledge that I don't have about how the scholarships and how the fellowships work. They get to know you on a personal level so that the application could be as strong as possible. They have to know what kind of person I am and what I've done, my accomplishments and things like that, to make the scholarships, the applications, as strong as possible. And they really take the time to do that. Yeah, start early. Don't wait until the third year to kind of start thinking about Churchill and Fulbright. Start in the freshman year, doing extracurricular activities and finding actually what you like. That's kind of the main thing. You don't want to just do a bunch of random extracurriculars just for the sake of a scholarship. You want to find what you like and start early doing it. Don't wait until the end of the second year and things like that. Earlier start, the better.
All right, it's great to hear Josh's story and just to see his success. I worked with him a few years ago, and now he's at Harvard doing his PhD, and I'm so proud of him. All right, so returning to the main presentation. Oh, we've got a question about the Goldwater Scholarship. Is it specific for grad school in the US or for any graduate program? It's actually for undergraduate study. And so you apply as a sophomore or junior and you get the funding the next year. So it's a really great scholarship for that. For grad school, we have some scholarships coming up. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, I wanted to share another case study with you. And so this student, Alexander, is a first-generation adult reentry transfer student. So I want to emphasize that the scholarships really value diversity. They value a student's story from start to finish. Alexander became a leader on campus in both service and in research. He participated in multiple engineering and programming research projects, including a gluten-detecting smartphone device, which was pretty cool, as an autonomous search and rescue drone, and sensors to monitor arm injuries and especially robotic hand grasping responses. And so that turned out to be his real passion, the robotic hand. He's also a caring individual who worked to overcome barriers for disadvantaged and minority youth, including planning mentoring events for the Engineering School's Office of Access and Inclusion and mentoring students through the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So he was very involved in service on campus and a friendly face to everyone. Alexander applied for both the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, which is our most popular scholarship, and the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship through our Trailblazers 10 advising process. He was awarded a Fulbright grant to perform neurosurgical robotics research, again with the grasping hand, at the University of Toronto. So he went to Canada. He had a fantastic experience in the Fulbright program. While he was in Canada, he applied for graduate fellowships. He had received an honorable mention for the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship through our program. And then the following year, he was also awarded a National GEM Consortium Fellowship to fund his PhD in mechanical engineering, which he is currently working on right now at UC Berkeley. The Fulbright U.S. Student Program, as I mentioned, our most popular scholarship, it was established by Congress after World War II to promote international understanding. This is SOP's most flexible award too. It just has so many cool options. You can go to one of 140 countries, pretty much any country with whom the US has a great relationship. And you can conduct independent research as Alexander did, or you can complete a year of graduate study. You can carry out a creative project, such as in the arts, or you can teach English. And they even have special grants like the National Geographic Digital Storytelling Fellowship for journalists, the Binational Business Program for students who are in business. So there's just incredible variety represented in Fulbright. If the host country you're interested in uses another language for daily life, you should gain at least intermediate proficiency in that language before you apply. However, there are lots of countries that only require English language skills. The UK, obviously, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, but they are particularly competitive countries. Grants also generally provide round-trip transportation, language or orientation courses if they're necessary, tuition, books, a living stipend, really everything you need to focus full-time on your work in the host country. So it's a very generous award. Now, you do have to be a US citizen to apply for this particular scholarship. There is a comparable program called the Fulbright Foreign Student Program for international students. However, that's not supported by our program. That's supported by the Office of Global Engagement. And you also have to be at least a junior, meaning graduating in the following year, right? A lot of our applicants are also graduating seniors and recent alumni within 1 year of graduation, but really Fulbright is there for you for the rest of your life. You can apply as a graduate student through graduate division or through your future graduate school. And you can even apply for Fulbrights in the Scholar Program as a professor. And so we've had lots of faculty winners, including chemistry professor Kenneth Janda, Information and Computer Science Professor Magda Alzarki, Pharmaceutical Sciences Professor Claudia Benavente, and Public Health Professor Christy Koenig, as well as over 70 UCI undergraduate recipients of the Fulbright. So it's a big program. They're making a couple thousand grants per year, and it's got a really wonderful alumni community to support students throughout their lifetimes. So I definitely recommend Fulbright to students who are eligible. If you're interested in the Fulbright, sorry, the pre-application deadline here is old. The deadline is actually April 12th. So you want to finish your SOP-PREP course and submit a pre-application for the Trailblazers 10 before then. All right. And a little bit more detail about Fulbright. We do have some field-specific awards for engineering and ICS. The Netherlands offers an Industrial Design Engineering Award. Singapore offers Urban Planning and Sustainable Design, and we've actually had a recipient for that scholarship. Spain has a Cybersecurity Initiative, and Taiwan has Energy Engineering. Also, We recently had a student who applied to Australia for the Fulbright Future Scholarship. And he is in computer science, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. That student is Kai Malloy, and he is a semifinalist, and we just learned a few days ago. So he's a current computer science undergraduate who is a semifinalist and awaiting final results from the host country, and I am really, really excited about that. I definitely recommend Fulbright to lots of the students who are in engineering as well as computer science. In fact, we see you guys a little bit underrepresented, and so I really want to encourage you to apply to this program. I think it's fantastic. All right, as far as other programs that might interest you, especially for grad school, I want to talk about the example of Leandra Jackson. Leandra transferred to UCI through the Honors to Honors Transfer Program in the campus-wide honors program. And with the encouragement of faculty mentors, Leandra was participating in summer research projects at Harvard and Yale even before she applied to UCI, which was a really special opportunity for her because it gave her the opportunity to gain research experience early on. And so if you have the chance to participate in research, even as a freshman, I really encourage you to get involved in it. For Leandra, her research passion was cell signaling and translation. Although her research required many hours in the lab, she was also well-rounded and developed a really strong relationship with Mission Hospital. And so she did 7 years of volunteering in their patient care unit. So she did have a heart for giving as well. As a junior, Leandra applied through our scholarship advising process and received the Goldwater Scholarship for Excellence in Research. And so that was a really great opportunity for her to really understand her own narrative and who she wanted to be as a researcher. And that helped propel her toward completing not only her honors thesis research on immune system regulation, but also applying for the Gates Cambridge Scholarship to fund a Master of Philosophy in Biological Sciences with a focus on pathology at Cambridge University in the UK. Leandra had actually never been abroad before, and she really enjoyed her year in the UK at Cambridge. She aims to understand the molecular mechanisms that influence development of cancer and to create personalized targeted therapies. So her work is really important to the big picture puzzle of dealing with cancer. And actually right now, Leandra is currently at Stanford University in the MD PhD program. So Leandra is an example of a student who applied for one of our graduate scholarships to go abroad. And so the Gates Cambridge is one among many great options for going to the United Kingdom. These scholarships are among the most competitive and prestigious graduate scholarships in the world, including the Rhodes, which you may know that Bill Clinton won and Rachel Maddow, right? And certainly some of the recent people who were presidential candidates, including Pete Buttigieg, who's now, I believe, Secretary of Transportation in the Biden administration. So the Rhodes is a really well-known scholarship, but there's plenty of alternatives for going to the UK that maybe get a little less attention, like Gates Cambridge or Churchill, which both fund study at Cambridge University, or the Marshall Scholarship. And in fact, we have a Marshall winner here on campus this year too. It was a student from public health sciences as well. That's Malak Kudemi. And she actually works at the food bank here on campus. So if you see her, tell her hello. The Marshall Scholarship is funded by the British government and supports study at any UK university. So it's actually the most flexible option of the ones on this screen. There's also a similar award for study in Ireland called the Mitchell Scholarship and the Schwarzman Scholars Program, which supports future leaders in studying in China in a unique master's program in global affairs at Tsinghua University. All of these scholarships demand academic excellence, of course, but also significant achievements in leadership, research, business, or public service. So you kind of have a variety of options for demonstrating your excellence, but just know that you really have to have a strong leadership profile for these. Most recipients plan extremely ambitious careers too. So we mentioned Bill Clinton. Certainly students who want to be president might be interested in these awards, but that's sort of rare. But there have been a lot of heads of state who've actually won these scholarships, including Canadian Prime Minister John Turner and Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. There's also Supreme Court justices like Neil Gorsuch and Stephen Breyer. And in fact, our one Rhodes Scholar from our campus, Megan Braun. She currently is a clerk for Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. So certainly lots of public service-oriented careers. Also, UCI professors. Many students don't know that Professor Emeritus of Political Science James Danziger is a Marshall Scholar. I also want to highlight that some of these programs are open to international students, including Gates Cambridge, the Rhodes, and Schwarzman. If you're interested in these, again, that deadline is April 12. It's in the chat. I need to update my slides. I'm sorry. All right, and another case study. This is Mohammed Abedi, who was born to Palestinian refugee parents in the United Arab Emirates. After many years of worry about deportation and observing family members in refugee camps with inadequate healthcare services, Mohammed thought he wanted to be a doctor when he immigrated to the United States. So he began his undergraduate studies at IVC. And he initially thought he was going to be a doctor, but then when he transferred to UCI, he was majoring in biomedical engineering. And he got involved in some research projects that he grew really passionate about, including a project that aimed to build air-powered computers for use in health diagnostic devices in the developing world. And so he found a different way to make a difference in healthcare. In 2013, President Obama launched the multi-billion-dollar BRAIN initiative to drive research that would help improve those tools for studying the brain. Mohammed's research for this initiative aimed to develop a device that uses light to study the brain non-invasively. As a graduating senior, Mohammed then worked closely with his faculty mentors on his scholarship applications. He chose to apply to both the NSF Graduate Scholarship and the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for New Americans. And incredibly, he became a UCI student, I believe the first UCI student to win both in the same year. So that was incredibly exciting. And he ended up using those scholarships to fund his graduate study at Caltech in the PhD in bioengineering. Mohammed intends to become a research professor and to develop tools to enhance our understanding of brain circuitry and improve treatment of neurological disorders. So Mohammed is an example of a student who participated in our Trailblazers 10 process to apply for graduate scholarships in the US. And so we do offer advising on the awards that you see on your screen. The most popular of these is the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship, right? So Mohammed and Alexander both did this one. US citizens and permanent residents are eligible to apply for the NSF to support study in US research-based graduate programs, including all traditional scientific disciplines, as well as STEM education, social sciences, and psychology. NSF provides $46,000 for tuition and fees for 3 years of graduate study. They also include a living stipend, so you're fully taken care of. You don't have to be a teaching assistant or do other work usually when you're on an NSF graduate fellowship. So it really allows you to focus on research if that's what you want to do. It also gives research-related travel or internship allowances. So again, just really fully comprehensive support for students who are truly committed to their research. As far as other full funding graduate scholarships go, the Knight Hennessy Scholars is a scholarship that's specific to Stanford University. It has a lot of similarities to the Rhodes and the Gates Cambridge that we talked about for the UK. They're looking for top leaders who want to be social change agents with the experience and vision to address global challenges like climate change or COVID-19. They are planning to fund approximately 100 scholars per year who have a record of academic excellence, ambitious goals, and a strong sense of civic duty. Now, it's important. You have to be able to get into Stanford University in order to be considered for the award, right? And I also want to mention that this scholarship allows applications from students from all citizenship statuses, including international students and DACA. Finally, we've got the Soros Scholarship. So this is the other one that Mohammed won. This is a partial scholarship, but it's quite generous, up to $20,000. And it's exclusively for new and first-generation American students. And this includes US citizens, permanent residents, and DACA recipients. Whatever your status, both of your parents must have been born outside the US. Soros supports 2 years of any graduate program for top students with a record of impressive achievement and extremely high ambition. So if you'd like to put questions in the chat, you can keep going with that. In the meantime, I'm going to get started with talking about general application components. During the advising process of 2 to 6 months, you will prepare multiple drafts of your scholarship application materials. You can actually reuse many of the components that you prepare for our scholarship applications in your graduate school application process, as you will write similar admissions essays. And if you win these scholarships, you will be, of course, more competitive for graduate school placement. They value students who come in with their own funding. Applications usually require 3 or more letters of recommendation. And so it's really important to start forming relationships now, especially if you're in the first half of your undergraduate degree, with people who can potentially become letter writers for you. Those are often faculty members. So attending office hours is a great idea, but it can also be work supervisors. And for students in engineering and information and computer sciences, I often see people who are supervising you in an internship off campus sometimes. Maybe you're doing programming for a research and design team or something like that. So those can be very good recommendations too, because the disciplines that you're studying tend to be very hands-on and to value work experience very highly. If one of your faculty seems hesitant or will be abroad with limited internet access or something like that, we recommend that you ask someone else. And so if your scholarship requires 3 letters of recommendation, it's often good to have 4 people that might be able to write for you, and then you can choose the ones who are going to be the most available and committed. If relevant to your scholarship application, you can also seek someone who has supervised you in public service, right? So for some of the scholarships, it makes sense to have someone who can talk about your leadership or your community service work. So you should think about the values of the scholarship agency and the selection criteria, and who can best speak to those criteria. Whoever you choose, you'll always want to provide your letter writers with a copy of your CV, your personal statement and project proposal, or other essays that you're writing, so that they can include specific details about you and back up what you say about your plans in their letters. Proposal essays can be fairly straightforward to write, especially if you've already done a similar essay for something like UROP. But if you haven't, just know that there is sort of a basic formula for writing a great proposal. You want to state specific goals. The more specific and narrow, the better, really, because then it's easier to align your plans and your methods to what you want to achieve. Scholarship agencies also really value a clear timeline. So let's say you're getting a scholarship for 1 year, then they might want it broken down in months. Whereas maybe if it's a 3-year award, maybe they want it more quarter by quarter, right? So thinking within sort of the quarter system can often be helpful to figuring out how you should lay out that timeline. You also want to provide specific details about your approach, methods, data collection, and anticipated outcomes, right? Outcomes, of course, are important because this helps you to articulate the value of your work for society. Many of the same principles apply to graduate study proposals, including offering a plan that is as detailed and specific as possible. So whether you're writing about research or a service project or a graduate study plan, the more specific you can be, the better. And for grad school, you can talk about wanting to maybe study a particular subfield or concentration within a grad degree. It's also great to identify faculty at the new institution you want to attend and be able to say, oh, they have similar interests, so I'm going to be able to work closely with them, right? You want scholarship review committees to know that you have done your research into graduate programs and know why this particular program is the best fit for your future. As far as service projects go, obviously, it's really important to be able to say, I'm going to do something that benefits a particular community. But in fact, really all scholarship agencies and all scholarship types want to know this. So they want to see that there's going to be some sort of real world impact from whatever you're studying or whatever you're proposing to do. And this will inspire their confidence that they're making a good investment in you. Really that you're going to become someone who contributes positively to the community. And so the scholarship agency or the federal program that's funding you is getting that benefit that they can then articulate to their stakeholders too. It is often 3 letters of rec per application. I see that in the chat box, but not for all scholarships. In fact, the Marshall Scholarship requires 4. The Rhodes Scholarship encourages students to send between 5 and 8. So we will always make sure that at the beginning of the application process for a scholarship that you know how many letters of rec are required, and you'll have usually anywhere from a month to 3 months to actually get those letters of rec. We'll let you know plenty of time in advance so that you can inform the people who are going to be supporting you what's required. And we'll also talk through your decision about who is going to write for you. And so if you need advice on figuring out how many professors or how many work supervisors or whatever, we're definitely going to be a part of that conversation. I see another question. Was Goldwater the last undergraduate scholarship for students who are graduating next year? Yes. Yes. Be aware if you are a junior, the upcoming scholarships for you are all going to be scholarships for use after graduation at this point in the year. So you would be joining our Trailblazers 10 process in the spring on April 12th. The other common type of scholarship essay that we see is a personal statement. And you might be kind of familiar with this if you have applied to other colleges and universities. As far as the UC application, you kind of wrote a personal statement, but it was spread across a bunch of short answer questions, right? I think they call them the personal insight questions. But the idea is really the same. The scholarships want to get to know you. What your values are, what communities you belong to, what you're passionate about, right? And so the personal statement is the place where you get to be uniquely you and distinguish yourself as a person in a stack of, hundreds of essays. So it can be intimidating to write, but I really love to help students think up creative ways to introduce themselves. These scholarships are also designed to honor students who have a strong interest and background in their subject matter. So it can be really key just to be able to present yourself in that way. You can demonstrate your expertise using concrete examples and anecdotes of things that you've already done. And this sort of proves that you're going to be able to do even bigger things in the future. You want to be able to tie together what you've already done with what you're doing right now and what you plan to do in the future. And that'll help create a connected narrative and make your application a lot more memorable. Procrastination is your enemy, and this is why SOP works with students for about 2 to 6 months on a scholarship application. We really want to make sure that your story has enough time to develop, that you get a chance to brainstorm ideas with SOP staff, faculty, friends, other people who are supporting you. And so you'll have a chance to revise and implement the feedback and really figure out how to present your story in the best way. You can also view past winning applications for inspiration. And this is something we encourage all of our students to do, is to really look at how different people are innovating in the genre of a personal statement and then to make it your own. So now I'm moving on to some tips. What are some things that you can do right now or next quarter? I think I just want to make sure that you know, first of all, that relationships are key. You're not an island. You do need letters of recommendation in your process, but you also need people who are going to provide you feedback. So I'm a creative writer. My colleague, Brendan, he's also an English major. And so that's sort of the expertise that's available at SOP, right? We're kind of concentrated in the humanities. And so for engineers, for computer scientists, we try our best to understand what you're writing about, but no one understands better than your faculty. And they're really the best people to suggest ways in which you can make your project ideas better and really thrive in a graduate program. And so the relationship should go beyond just letter writing, but really finding good mentors is key to success in the scholarship process. One of the ways to do that is to perform research. And so, of course, I again want to plug UROP and Campus-Wide Honors Program and the other places on campus where you can get involved in research. It's really something that I suggest to everyone. It's also going to give you some original accomplishments to talk about in your writing, and I think that's really important too. As far as studying abroad, obviously, right now, studying abroad has not been possible. We hope it will be available in future years, but it has always been optional. Many of my students tell me that studying abroad is something that they really valued as far as their undergraduate experience. So I want to continue to tell students dream about going abroad. Do go to the Study Abroad Center and talk about options, especially if you're a freshman or sophomore and you have some time left in your trajectory. But even if you don't, and you're looking more toward graduate school and you're getting closer to graduation, you can go abroad with a Fulbright, right? You can go abroad with a Marshall Scholarship. And so it can be something that you do later in the trajectory too. Pursuing internships, really key, I think, especially for engineers and computer scientists, because it gives you that hands-on work experience and you get to see what research and development opportunities are like outside of the campus community. So I always recommend that, as well as community service if you have a heart to give. For students who have financial need, paid work experience is in itself something like an internship. If you can do something that's related to your field and get paid for it, I really encourage you to do that. Seeking out leadership opportunities is vital, and leadership can really be demonstrated in a lot of different ways. Being a tutor or a LARC coordinator is one of the possible ways, right? Being a mentor to someone, but also being an innovator in your field is a way of demonstrating leadership. And so, if you're writing a peer-reviewed journal article and your work is getting out there and getting published by the time you graduate, that's a leader. That's an intellectual leader, right? Certainly being ASUCI president, we think of that as a leadership opportunity, but there's so many ways to be a leader. And the scholarships value pretty much all of them. It's really explaining what your values are and then how you have sought opportunities that fit with them. And finally, I want to plug a couple of other opportunities that are available at SOP. Certainly for your own professional development, if you're interested in student employment on campus, then you should know that we are hiring. And we're very excited to be hiring new student advisors for one-year positions, as well as marketing and communications interns. And you can check out these opportunities in Handshake. If you go into the Career Center website and sign into Handshake, you can search for SOP, or you can go on our social media and we've got the links there too. And many students don't know this, but SOP also oversees the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society chapter here at UCI. Phi Beta Kappa is a wonderful honor society. It's invitation only. We do invite in about 1% of juniors and about 5% of graduating seniors. So if you get an invitation from PBK, I want you to know that it's awesome. I am a Phi Beta Kappa member myself, and it's one of the top honors that I got in my trajectory, and it's been very meaningful to me. PBK is a fantastic community, very supportive place. We have events throughout the year for students, faculty, community members, alumni, and everybody gets together and does really cool things. I think a couple weeks from now, they're even doing a Shakespeare scavenger hunt. So there's a variety of fun things that we do. Certainly we have symposia and talks, like invite someone from Phi Beta Kappa, like a distinguished professor or a famous person in the field, to come to talk to the students and the community here at UCI. That's always really fun. And we do a really nice ceremony for new inductees every year in the same week as graduation. So if you get an invitation from PBK, it's really meaningful, and we do hope you will join. And we try our best to keep the membership free for UCI students every year. So keep your fingers crossed that that funding will always be there, especially if you are named a PBK invitee. All right. Are there any questions before I go? I'll hang out for a few minutes and see if any new questions pop up in the chat. But in the meantime, I encourage you, get started with SOP Prep. Check it out, see what's required. It's just a few journal articles and a meeting with an SOP advisor. How bad can it really be? Hopefully I've inspired you to engage more with our awesome and friendly student advisor team that you see here. All these wonderful people who are standing ready to support you in your scholarship journey. PBK sends invitations in April. And if you are thinking about a particular scholarship, you can view detailed scholarship descriptions on our website, check out more recipients. We have biographies and photos for all the recent students who've won, so you can check that out. We have a recipients blog with more of their stories. And you can actually go into your calendar and set reminders for pre-app deadlines, like the April 12th Trailblazers 10 pre-application deadline for graduate scholarships, as well as the October and November pre-app deadlines for next year. And if you're interested in meeting with our staff, we do offer one-on-one advising year-round and Zoom drop-in hours from weeks 2 to 10 of each academic quarter. So those are not available in summer, but the rest of the year they are. And our student advisors would be really stoked to meet you. You can also view past winning applications at our program by request. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. It was a great pleasure meeting you today, and we hope to see you. And we hope you'll be joining SOP Prep very soon. Thank you so much for being a great audience today. Bye-bye.